Mindful Nutritionist. So happy that you could join me today. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, I'm just delighted to be able to use the magic of technology, which really isn't magic at all. It's science, by the way, as a way to communicate with you and to share messages that I find compelling, important, and potentially life-changing. You're here today because you signed up for 5 Keys to Lasting Weight Loss, the secrets of fat, sugar, and salt that the food manufacturers don't want you to know. So I'm just thrilled to be able to share this message with you and be able to answer any questions that you have and participate with you in this web broadcast. So don't be shy. You've got a place where you can ask questions. And, oh, I'm just checking to see where the video is. I know that we're broadcasting live, but I'm wondering if you can see the video. Hold on a second. I want to make sure that you're able to get on this call. Hang on just a second and let me see what we need to do. Hang on a second. Are you there? If you're there, send a chat message to me. Okay, Okay, very good. I see that we've got some people on this call, which is awesome. And let me know if you are able to see the video broadcast. And if you are, just give me a little chat and let me know if you're out there. Okay, awesome. 1 second. Oh, bear with me. Technology is wonderful when it works perfectly, and it's not as great when it doesn't work perfectly. So I'm going to give you I'm going to give myself 1 more minute here. Hang on a second. Oh, I think I know what I need to do here. 1 second. I'm going to share this link here, copy, and go here. Okay, here's the webinar URL. And I think we're live. All right, let's continue. I, again, am thrilled that you're here today. Thank you for being here, and let's get started. I am going to share some slides with you, and we can talk through together the secrets to avoiding salt, sugar, and fat, and lasting lifelong weight loss is possible. So those of you who joined us last week learned that your weight is directly related to your ability to manage stress. We talked about how mindfulness practice is one of the keys to really help our ability to notice and then respond skillfully to body sensations. Connecting to the energetic and healing properties of plants is a really important way to unlock the keys to lasting weight loss. Eating whole foods, mostly plants, not too much. Thank you, Michael Pollan, for that wonderful and amazing, succinct statement about the power of whole foods and plants. And I do have a key, which is never eat junk or fast foods and avoiding processed foods. We'll talk more about that today, and also more about what I mean by never. So here are the goals for today. Goal number 1 is to learn about the 5 foods to avoid. Learn about the 5 foods to enjoy, and learning these secrets about fat, sugar, and salt that could change your life. It certainly has changed my life. And then practicing mindful eating and mindful awareness. So today when I was on my way to my office, I have a wonderful private practice counseling office in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was aware of all of the changes that the change in weather has brought about. The weather has, the heat of the summer has given way for the amazing fall, winter, and spring that we enjoy in Arizona. And all around me were signs of that change. Flowers are in bloom that haven't been blooming before. The desert comes alive at different times of the year, and certainly as the heat moderates, the amazing power of change of seasons is all around us. So I was noticing the colors of the flowers, different colors of purple and yellow, and bougainvillea in bloom, and oleanders that are coming back to life. It was just remarkable. So just like I used to notice when I was living up in Bellevue, Washington, the different shades of green when the Pacific Northwest comes to life in the spring, after a dormant winter and a wet winter. There's just amazing shades of green. Here in the desert, we have some just incredible pops of color. And when you plant blooming flowers that handle the heat and give them water in the desert with the sunshine, things go wild. So it was just quite remarkable to tune into paying attention to the present moment. And I was completely engaged in noticing the things that were around me and allowed myself to have a mindful drive when I was coming to my office. But let's have a mindful practice together. So learning the practice of mindful eating is a key to lasting weight loss, and we will have a mindful eating experience a little bit later. But for now, I want you to just settle into your chair, and I'm going to guide you through a breathing awareness practice. This breathing awareness practice will allow you to focus on each stage of a breath as you breathe slowly and gently. So go ahead and close your eyes. Sit in your chair in any position that feels comfortable for you. You won't need to look at the computer for the next few minutes. And throughout this breathing awareness exercise, I'd like you to breathe in this way. Breathe in to the count of 4. Hold for the count of 3. And breathe out to the count of 5. Let's begin. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, breath, 2, 3, 4, 5. Begin again and breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue to breathe in for the count of 4, and then add a brief pause for 2, and then exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and do that again. Remembering that if any time you feel breathless or agitated or uncomfortable in any way, just return to normal breathing. And then resume again when and if you feel that you can come back and join us. So keep breathing in this slow way and breathing out in this slow way. And while you're breathing slowly, I'm going to direct your breathing awareness to different stages of the breath. As best as you can, focus your attention on each stage I mention. Gently shift your awareness to the breath as it enters your nose. Notice each time you breathe in, the way the breath feels on your nostrils. Feel the breath as it passes through your nasal passages and down behind your throat. Where does the air go next? Feel each time you inhale, the breath passing down your windpipe. Feel the breath going down. Feel the breath going down. Notice where the breath enters your lungs. Allow your breathing awareness to deepen the feeling of relaxation you are experiencing. Feel the air expand your lungs with each in-breath. Feel your lungs expand and relax. Expand and relax. Expand and relax. Bringing your awareness to the process of breathing out. Now gently notice the exhalation phase of breathing. Observe as the air leaves your lungs and begins to travel upward. Focus your attention on that moment of each breath. Allow your attention to move to the breath traveling up and out through the mouth. Feel the breath in your throat, your mouth, and across your lips. Notice each breath as a whole. See how the breath flows like waves. First in, and then a pause, and out, and then a pause. Notice the pauses, these spaces between the breaths. Now, as you relax, you can count your breaths as they continue to flow gently. Count 10 breaths. And 5 more breaths. And now notice how calm and relaxed you are. See how regular your breathing has become, how calm your breathing is. Now go ahead and open your eyes and come back in the room. How was that? What did that feel like for you? Just take a moment and think about your experience in words. Was it interesting, different, agitating, comfortable? Just jot down a couple of notes that describe what that experience was like. And bringing your attention back to the screen, I just want you to know that this picture that's on this slide is of Oak Creek Canyon near Sedona. And when my husband and I moved to Scottsdale in the summer of 2013, one of the first things we did was go on a hike in this beautiful canyon. And it was my introduction to a summer in Arizona, and it was warm. There's no question about that, but it was an amazing, amazing experience. It was a little cooler than it was down in Scottsdale where we lived, but it was still pretty warm, and there was a beautiful, beautiful hike. Wanted to share that with you today. All right, let's move on. Hold on. Where are my slides here? Oh, hi, I'm back. I'm going to go back to the slides and take you with me on this journey of understanding the secrets about fat, sugar, and salt that the food manufacturers don't want you to know. So here we go. Let's go back. Here we go. Okay. Keys to lasting weight loss. Here are my goals for the next 40 minutes that we have together is to learn about the 5 foods to avoid. So, you know, some of these are pretty obvious. You can see in this picture things like Velveeta macaroni and cheese, Lay's potato chips, Famous Amos, processed foods. These are classic examples of processed foods. And we know that those are foods to avoid. One of the difficulties is learning how to avoid these foods and why they're so hard to resist. I actually believe that learning why they're hard to resist becomes liberating, because when you understand why these foods produce what I call a siren call, drawing us in, it's not enough to know that we need to avoid them, but when you actually understand that it is by design that we can't resist them, that helps me set up my food environment to be more successful. And when I'm working with clients, this is one of the things that I find absolutely critical, is to help them understand that setting up your own food environment at home to be successful needs to be intentional on your part, needs to be deliberate on your part, needs to be absolutely positively part of what it is you're trying to do to be successful in reducing unwanted weight and maintaining weight loss once you lose it. So processed food, this is one of the problems. Here are examples of processed food on this slide. We know about fast food and junk food, but processed food, anything that's in a package, are the kinds of things that we want to avoid. Processed foods are deconstructed. They're food that are made in a food laboratory. And what happens is food scientists break down the components of food. For example, potato chips, you know, they're not made, they do start with real potatoes, but to turn them into a chip, the actual potato has to be deconstructed, and then it has to be put back together into a food-like substance. A potato chip is a food-like substance. And, you know, the problem with processed foods is that they contain fat, sugar, and salt. And the reason they contain fat, sugar, and salt is because when you take food apart in a lab and you put it back together in a food-like substance, you have to add salt and sugar to make it taste okay. You've got to cover up some of the chemicals, the flavor of chemicals that get added to make processed food palatable. And then if you're a food scientist, you add fat to improve what is called mouth feel. It is this special measurement that food scientists do to make food melt in your mouth, go down with 3 bites or less. If you're eating a classic Lay's potato chip, the reason you can't eat just one is because you're going to put it in your mouth and it's literally going to dissolve without chewing. the incredible writer, Dr. David Kessler, wrote a book called The End of Overeating, and he describes that phenomenon as adult baby food designed to go down in 3 bites or less. We won't really talk much about the 3-bite rule, but it is intentional, and it's designed to override your signals in your brain about hunger and fullness to keep you coming back for more and more. So again, processed foods are designed to simulate real foods, deconstructed, reconstructed, added sugar, salt, and fat to give you this kind of mouthfeel type thing that happens in your mouth that is irresistible, literally irresistible. And here's an example of a processed food that's designed to look like it's a health food. The name Nature Valley. Okay, number 1, Nature. All right, take a look at these oats and honey. So you see this kind of, a honey stick that's dripping with real honey. You see crumbly pieces of these Nature Valley crunchy granola bars that resemble oats. But then I want you to take a look at the label. The ingredients, whole grain oats. All right, we start out good. Sugar is number 2. Nutrition labels are written in order of the ingredient quantity. So the first ingredient is whole grain oats by weight. That's awesome. Sugar, ingredient number 2. Well, that's a little concerning. Now we've got the oil to help us have that mouthfeel. Now we have rice flour to help as a binding agent. Then we have honey. So ingredients 2 and 5 are sugar. Sugar plus honey is more sugar. Then we've got salt. Then we've got brown sugar syrup, another source of sugar. So here's a third sugar ingredient. We've got baking soda, which is probably a binding agent. Then we have soy lecithin, which is something that gives mouthfeel again, and something called natural flavor. We won't talk about that, but it's negligible at this point. So on this label, this is not the greatest image. You'll see that there are 11 grams of sugar. Oh, by the way, the serving size is 2 bars. They come in a little package. You all know this. At least they're telling us that a serving size is 2 bars because sometimes it'll just say 1 bar. And the nutrition information is broken down between 2 bars and 1 bar, which is helpful. Well, is this the worst thing in the world, this Nature Valley granola bar? You know, it's got 11 grams of added sugar. 2, 5, and 7 are forms of sugar with 11 grams. So here's the problem with sugar. How much is too much? We know that too much sugar is a problem. And here's how you do the calculation. I hope you don't get lost in this mathematical equation, but remember, you can pause this when you're replaying it and review this calculation. So the recommendation is that daily we have no more than 6 to 15 teaspoons per day. For most people, 6 teaspoons of added sugar for those of us who are on the smaller end of the scale. So, and my daily calories, well, I'll give you an example of how I calculate this for myself. And so what we do with sugar is we start with our daily calories, and then we use the first 3 numbers of our daily calorie goal for 10% added sugar goal, because we don't want to add more than 10% of our daily calories in the form of added sugar. So for example, if your daily calorie total is 1,500, just take 150. That's your calorie goal of added sugar every day. If you're bigger, if you're a man, if you weigh a little more and your daily calorie goal is 2,400, then your daily added calories is going to be 240. We'll divide that number by 4 to get daily sugar grams, and then we divide that grams by 4 to get daily teaspoons of added sugar. So let's go back to this slide about Nature Valley, and I'm going to give you an example of me. Okay, so my daily calorie goal, I'm small, I'm 5'1"-ish. I weigh around, in the low 120s on a good day. And my daily calorie goal to avoid weight gain is about 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day. That's food calories. And that, if I stick to that category of 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day, I'm going to avoid gaining weight. One of the reasons I know my daily calorie total is, of course, I'm a dietitian in private practice. I've been trained and have a master's degree in nutrition. And so I know how to calculate calories for height and weight. And that's the service, one of the services I provide for my clients, is to help them understand how many calories they need to consume every day to avoid weight gain or to produce weight loss. I also have a history with being the director of public relations for Weight Watchers. And I lost 44 pounds 28 years ago on the Weight Watchers program, and I've kept it off for 28 years. But what I noticed when I was leading meetings as a Weight Watchers leader, and I was a very popular meeting leader with hundreds of members that came every week, is that Weight Watchers was really a food company and pushed processed foods. And one of the things that Weight Watchers didn't talk about back then and doesn't really talk about now is what happens when you hook people on processed foods like Nature Valley crunchy granola bars. Yes, it's great to be able to eat, quote, everything and still lose weight, but it's also kind of a problem because when I'm going to avoid weight gain, so let's go back to me, I'm going to have 120 calories of added sugar as my daily limit. That means my daily sugar grams is about 30 if I'm going to stay in that limit. My daily teaspoons of added sugar is about 7 teaspoons of sugar. Well, here we go. We're adding 11 grams of sugar in this Nature Valley granola bar. And remember, the other part of that calculation with grams of sugar is to take that number of my grams of sugar and divide it by 4. So if I'm going to have 30 grams a day of sugar, I can eat Nature Valley granola bars with no big deal. Is that right? Sure, of course. I still have some extra sugar. But the problem is if I'm going to eat other packaged foods during the day, it adds up very, very quickly. Here's the problem with sugar. Added sugar is the problem. Natural sugar is fine. We don't have to count the sugar that's naturally occurring, that's in apples, that's in bananas, that's in oranges, that's in vegetables. Fruit, vegetable in their natural form is fine. You don't have to calculate sugars from that. However, added sugar is the problem. And here's the one word that really describes sugar, and that is sneaky. Sugar is sneaky. It's sneaky because it's added to anything that's a packaged product. There may be a few exceptions to that, but in general, anything you buy from the grocery store that is in a package, that's a processed food, has added sugar to make it taste better. When you eat at a restaurant, when you eat dining out, when you eat fast food, when you eat what you think is healthy fast food even, sugar is added because it's added to everything and it's sneaky. Here's another example, sneaky sugar. The food that is marketed most as a health food, processed food, is yogurt. And in fact, experts argue that marketing yogurt as a health food is one of the biggest successes that food manufacturers have had in the last several years. So a problem with yogurt is that you've got added sugars of 7 grams. Let's look at the label again. We've got, pasteurized, grade A, non-fat milk. All right, I'm not so sure that non-fat milk is all that great a thing. Water, number 2. Number 3, sugar. The third ingredient is sugar. Then there's all this other stuff that's in here. We got another sweetener, sucralose, to make it super sweet. We've got a sulfame potassium, which is a sweetening agent as well. We've got some added vitamin D, which is, I don't know what that's there for. We have lemon juice concentrate, which probably helps to keep it from spoiling. And we've got 55 grams of sodium. That's a preservative. Your sodium totals for the day should be about 1,500 milligrams in a day. And again, if you're eating whole fresh foods, you don't have to worry about sugar or salt coming in these foods, but you do have to worry about it when it's in packaged foods. Yogurt that is flavored, that is sweetened, that is added sweeteners, that is reduced calorie, is not your friend. It's not a health food. If you're going, even if it's endorsed by Weight Watchers and it has only 2 points, this is not a food that you should be eating very much of regularly. Here's another example. This is regular Yoplait, which has, the taste you love with 25% less sugar. Let's look at look at that, 18 grams of sugar. Well, coming back to me, this is a 1 container serving, 150 calories, which is about 10% of my calorie total for the day. And it's over half of added sugars that I should have. If this is the only processed food that I'm going to eat in a day, I'm fine because I can have 18 grams of sugar. I'm getting some protein, which is nice. We're not going to talk about protein today all that much. But the sneaky part of sugar is here, the added sugars. And look at the label again. We've got, reduced fat milk, sugar, number 2. Blueberries. Okay, well, that sounds good. Modified cornstarch. Ew, that's going to give it a texture, a mouthfeel. Raspberries, strawberries, blackberries. Okay, that's cool. Kosher gelatin, binding agent. Pectin, binding agent, holding it together. Natural flavor, ick, I don't want to know what that is. And once again, this is what happens with processed foods, is that there are things in there that we don't need to be eating, and it's marketed like health food. One of the bigger offenders is what we call noosa. Now, I've added this comment here on this slide because this is what it says on the noosa website. Good day, allow us to introduce ourselves. We're noosa and we make yogurt, but not just any yogurt. Ours is thick and velvety, sweet and tart. It's a labor of love that starts in small batches on the farm and ends in a delicious scoop on your spoon. Wow, sounds good, huh? Sounds healthy. I love this yogurt. It tastes like, ice cream. It tastes like dessert because it really is. It actually has 15 grams of sugar. It's got some protein, 140 calories, and 6 grams of fat, which is almost an identical measurement to ice cream. All right, well, ice cream is a great thing to eat, but not every day for breakfast. And I certainly don't consider ice cream a health food. I might consider noosa a health food because it's marketed as one, fresh off the farm. So be careful when you're looking at yogurt. This is one of the things to avoid. And I want to remind you that things that we're going to avoid are foods that are processed, that are the obvious offenders, things like Lay's potato chips and Famous Amos cookies and honey buns and Oreos. But I also want you to avoid yogurt. If you're going to have yogurt for health reasons, get plain, unsweetened, non-fat yogurt. That's the yogurt to eat. Greek yogurt has a nice protein count, unsweetened, unflavored, and then add your own stuff to it. Add your own fresh fruit. Add your own sweetener. Control how much is going in there. All right, let's move on. So last time we met, I talked about Bountiful Baskets, which is an amazing bountifulbaskets.org, a nonprofit volunteer-run collective, national collective that distributes affordable, healthy produce that you buy $10 for a conventional basket. You add a $15 for an organic box. So here's some pictures of the box that I bought. You'll notice that it's a pretty great assortment of amazing foods that are in its pure form. I ended up getting, a nice package of butter lettuce, living lettuce. I got some strawberries, a significant number of gorgeous grapes, dark purple, really, really tasty. This was a bag of assorted greens, had some watercress in there, which I just love and I don't have very often. Some radicchio red leaf lettuce was in there, really nice stuff. 6 avocados, some bananas, a pomegranate, which was a real treat, a beautiful eggplant, and then 3 pounds of organic apples. Just a wonderful experience. This is what I was told it could contain. That was the label on the outside. Inside I had, here's the eggplant, some zucchini, some cucumbers, and then another picture of the produce that was laid out. Just wonderful. So I can't stress enough how great bountifulbaskets.org is, and I would encourage you to either, join a CSA, community supported agriculture organization, where you can get healthy food or organic produce every week. What's nice about having this is that then I ate it. It forced me to have pomegranate, which I haven't had for forever, and it was wonderful. It forced me to eat a lot of grapes, a lot of apples, and also think creatively about the ways to use the produce. It helped our cooking and eating for the next few days. All right, let's talk about fat. So, there's been an evolution with fat that has come over the last few years. And what I want you to know is that it's more not really about don't eat fat. We used to think, not to eat fat, fat was a problem. There's kind of different types of fat, but it's put out there in ways that can become confusing for us. So I would like you to think about fat in a continuum. So first, there's the dreaded trans fats that are over on the top left of this slide. Trans fats are we know they're bad. They cause cancer. That's been clinically documented, and they're being eliminated from a lot of processed foods and fast foods. So that trans fats is less of a problem than it used to be, but you're going to get into trans fats when you find fried foods and processed foods. You don't find trans fats in other places. So trans fat is a bad fat. Saturated fats are the fats that come from animal products. Saturated fats are in meat, they're in cheese, they're in dairy. We know now unequivocally that saturated fats, we've known this for 35, 40 years, that saturated fats contribute to heart disease. So no matter what you read about different kinds of diets, like the paleo diet, which encourages eating lots of meat, lots of sources of saturated fat, even adding certain fats to your coffee, saturated fats cause heart disease. Too much of them clog arteries. We even know that you can, there have been studies that demonstrate that arteries can become congested with just short-term intake of saturated fats. So it's not like you can't have them. You want to be careful, and you want to limit saturated fats and have the best quality sources of it. Then we've got two fats that we call the good fats, which are MUFAs, monounsaturated fatty acids, and PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids. Without going into a lot of detail about the types of fats and how these terms really just refer to the chemical composition of these types of fats. Here are the sources of the good fats, things like avocado, things like olive oil, things like almonds, things like peanut butter are sources of monounsaturated fatty acid. PUFA, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are, we now know, the healthiest for our brain, skin, hair, and give fluidity to our cellular membranes, are things like salmon and other cold water fishes, walnuts, almonds. Soybeans are a great source of PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, as well as other plant-based sources and certain types of oils like canola oils, sunflower, safflower, and soybean oils are polyunsaturated fatty acids. Olive oil is a monounsaturated fatty acids. The types of oils that I just mentioned as PUFAs do better at high heat. Olive oil is not a great high heat cooking oil, so you have to take that into consideration when you're cooking as well. So what's the most important thing when you're thinking about fats and food in general, fat, sugar, and salt in general, is you're going to get the most results following the 80-20 rule. So how you translate that to food and eating is simply this. Eat mostly whole foods, unprocessed, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, nuts and seeds, healthy fats, 80% of the time. 20% of the time you can, go off plan and have some treats. Make them high quality, enjoy them, eat mindfully. We will have a mindful eating exercise in just a moment as an example of what to do. When you're 20% of the time not eating fresh whole foods, I want you to really enjoy that experience and learn the practice of mindful eating. So we're going to have a brief mindful eating practice. And to do this, I'd like you to step away from your computer. I'm going to give you about a minute. And I want you to run to your kitchen and grab a small item of food. Or if you're watching this rebroadcast, pause your computer. Go get something, if you have it in the house, what I would call a high value food, something like a piece of chocolate. If you have chocolate in your house, you might even want to pause this and go to the store and get some chocolate for this exercise. Or just take a cracker or a cookie or something that you have in your home that you can use and enjoy. And I'm going to give you another minute. If you're doing this at home with the rebroadcast, just pause it and go get the food item. And I'm using in my office a small piece of dark chocolate, a Dove Promise. Okay. So eating with mindfulness is not about depriving yourself or having rigid rules. And we'll practice together right now. Just explore this little piece of food using as many of your senses as possible. Look at the food. Really look at it. Notice its texture, its color. Does the light shine on the food in any kind of interesting ways? Just allow your senses to drink in. Allow your sense of sight to drink in your piece of food. Now close your eyes and explore the food with your sense of touch. What does the food feel like? Is it hard or is it soft? Is it grainy or is it sticky? Is it moist or is it dry? Notice that you're not being asked to think, but just to notice different aspects of your experience, one sense at a time. This is what it means to eat mindfully. Now, before you eat, explore the food with your sense of smell. What do you notice? Now begin eating. No matter how small the bite of food you have, take at least 2 bites to finish it. Take your first bite. Please chew very slowly, noticing the actual sensory experience of chewing and tasting. Remember, you don't need to think about your food to experience it. You might want to close your eyes for a moment to focus on the sensations of chewing and tasting before continuing. You can pause this if you need to. Notice the texture of the food, the way it feels in your mouth. Notice if the intensity of its flavor changes moment to moment. Take about 20 more seconds to very slowly finish this first bite of food, being aware of the simple sensations of chewing and tasting. It isn't always necessary to eat slowly in order to eat with mindfulness, but it's helpful at first to slow down, in order to be as mindful as you can. And remember to breathe. Now, please take your second and your last bite. As before, chew very slowly while paying close attention to the actual sensory experience of eating. The sensations and movements of chewing. The flavor of the food as it changes. Notice when the food is on your tongue, if it tastes differently when it's on different spots. And as you swallow, just before you swallow, see if you can follow that swallow, the food as it travels down your throat, until you can feel your stomach just getting one bite larger. One bite larger. So when you use a mindfulness eating exercise on a regular basis, it's only one part of a mindfulness approach to your diet. Let me come back live to you. Here I am. So how was that? Was it a great experience? Was it a confusing experience? Did you notice anything different about the taste of the food? Were you surprised by how food tastes? When I do this exercise, this mindful eating exercise in classes that I teach at Arizona State, I ask the students to share with me some words that describe the experience of eating food that slowly. And I always use chocolate in the class. And chocolate is one of those foods that can bring up a lot of emotional reactions for us. We can actually begin to notice even just when I said the word chocolate right now, I started to salivate. And that's because digestion begins in the mouth. So as we pay attention to things like this, to digestion, to the act of eating, the entire experience, what we do is we change our food and eating experience from a recreational activity or a hobby into a sacred experience. So what is so special about mindfulness and mindfulness practice is that it helps us tune into the sacred. Last class, we talked about the real special power of food, how food, the energy of food is unlocked in our body, where we transform when we eat plants and animals that eat plants. We take solar energy, which is stored in the leaves, the edible parts of plants, and animal protein. We eat it, and it is transformed and stored as energy for us. It's just remarkable. So whether you have a religious practice or not, food is sacred. Connecting to food in a special and sacred way can transform anything you eat into a sacred experience. So with mindful eating, it's not about good foods and bad foods. It's about connecting our experience of eating to the sacredness in all foods. So next time that we meet on Thursday, if you're able to attend that class, or sign up for it and you can watch the broadcast at your own convenience, we will, I have some surprises in store for you that will help transform your relationship to food and eating. So I just want to take a moment and share with you a quick and simple way that you can take whole foods ingredients and make a nourishing, quick breakfast. And I call this the Green Goddess Smoothie. So I'm going to give you the ingredients and show you the ingredients one at a time. So to make a Green Goddess smoothie, I take a blender and I take one banana, and I always buy organic produce. If you can't afford organic produce, there's something called the Dirty Dozen, which is a list of the 12 foods to always buy organic produce if you want to limit your pesticide intake. Things that have a skin on them or a peel on them, like a banana, is a pretty good product that you can buy conventional. But organic produce is getting quite affordable now. The cost differential between organic and regular produce is not as big as it used to be. So if you can, if you have the resources, buy organic whenever possible. So 1 banana, I'm going to peel it and break it in 2 and put it in my blender cup. 1 pear, again, I've got an organic pear here. I'm going to cut it in quarters, and you know, you actually don't have to take the seeds out. I just put everything in the blender. Not the top. I'll take the stem off, but the rest of it I'll put in the blender. I'm going to put in an apple. In this case, these are small apples. These are organic Gala apples that came in my Bountiful Baskets box. So I'm going to use 2 apples. I'm going to cut them in quarters and throw them in the blender. I'm going to take a lemon, cut it in half and juice it, and I'll put the juice of the lemon right in the blender. Now here come the secret ingredients. I'm going to add fresh parsley, about that much. Chop it up, throw it in the blender. You don't have to chop up too much, but I'm going to put some parsley in there. I'm going to add some mint, and I have fresh mint that I bought at Fry's, is the department store or the grocery store. That's a Kroger store, same chain as lots and lots and lots of stores like Safeway. No matter where you're watching this in the country, you can get some fresh mint. So I'm going to put that in the blender. Then I'm going to add 2 handfuls, which is this much of a bag of assorted greens. Swiss chard. Look at those red veins. It's just gorgeous. Spinach, baby kale, arugula. Those are going to go in the blender. I'm going to throw those in. Then I'm going to add, I don't have to, but I'll add a tablespoon of chia seeds. Here's what they look like if you have never seen chia seeds before. And I'm going to I buy them in a package that looks like this, chia seeds. This is Simple Truth brand. You may have seen that, an affordable way to get them. And I'll use about a tablespoon. And then I'm going to add my liquid. I will either add a cup, 8 ounces of soy milk, or I'm going to add water. I can just do water. If I add soy milk, I'm going to get a nice protein source. I use unsweetened, organic, plain soy milk. People avoid soy for misguided reasons. If you eat organic, non-GMO, unsweetened soy milk, there have been some clinical studies that show that soy milk is really quite healthy for you, as is soy in its lightly processed forms, which are soybean, edamame, tofu, tempeh, soy milk. So I'm going to put all that in the blender. I'm going to put it on puree. And I'm going to have a gorgeous drink that I can make in maybe 2 minutes. Depending on the amount of liquid I add, I can put 2 cups of liquid in there, and I can have the drink twice during the day, once in the morning, once later in the day. If I make the drink without adding soy milk and just put water in there, I'll add something else because that probably won't hold me too long. So I might have a piece of 100% whole wheat bread with nut butter as a way to help provide the satiety that fat does. And that's one of the reasons I add the chia seeds, because chia seeds is one of the sources of PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acids. Really, it's a really nice superfood. It's high in dietary fiber, and it's a really nice source of calcium. So it's just an awesome low calorie, healthy fat way to add. So that's chia seeds. That's the Green Goddess smoothie. I hope you enjoyed that. All right, let's go back to the last few slides. So we've talked about the 5 foods to avoid. We've talked about 5 foods to enjoy. So obviously fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, nuts, seeds, healthy fats. We've talked about the secrets about fat, sugar, and not too much about salt. We'll talk a little more about that next time. That could literally change your life. They've been added to food to make you eat more. We practiced mindful eating and mindful awareness. And I want to remind you again that the practice of paying attention to the present moment on purpose without judgment is mindfulness, is important. And we practice so that when we're stressed, when our biological responses to stress kick in, we are able to respond more skillfully. So finally, I want to talk with you a little bit about food blessing. I introduced you to the idea of a food blessing in the last class. And this picture over on the right side of the slide is a picture of my counseling chair in my private practice office in Scottsdale, where I've been able to put together a gorgeous healing space that clients just are responding to with great enthusiasm and love. So I hope if you're in the area that you can come and see me. And those of you who are out of the area, I do quite a bit of distance by Skype counseling. And so if you're looking to expand your skills with promoting lifelong weight loss and weight maintenance, I'd love to work with you, and I'd love to share with you the things that I've learned that have helped me maintain my own weight loss for many, many years and continue to inspire and guide my clients that I work with now. So food blessings, again, connecting to the sacred in food. How we do that is through mindfulness practice. We also can do it by pausing and considering where the food that we are about to eat came from. When I was a little girl, I grew up in a very religious family, and we said grace every night at dinner, but the exercise was to say it as fast as we could so we could start eating. So I'm asking you to do something different where you can really connect to the sacred. Here is a beautiful, beautiful food blessing from Thich Nhat Hanh. May the food we are eating make us aware of the interconnections between the universe and us, the earth and us, and all other living species and us, because each bite contains in itself the life of the sun and the earth. May we see the meaning and value of life from these precious morsels of food. It gives me chills. That's such a beautiful, beautiful blessing. So here are some reminders as we close our time together today. Practice, practice, practice. So mindful eating, mindfulness practice is a practice, not a perfect. We practice so that when we are overwhelmed by strong emotions, whether they're happy, sad, anger, boredom, etc., we come back to our practice as a way to help us reconnect with our body. Because when we reconnect with our body and the sacred act of eating, we eat appropriate foods in the right amounts, not too much. Whole foods, mostly plants. So eat real food. Don't eat fake food. Take time to buy whole food, have it around, and when you need a snack, snack on things like carrots and hummus. If I have time, I might have time, I can show you some snacks that I have on my desk to share with you that I eat here in my office. Remember the 80-20 rule. Don't strive for perfection. Try to get it right 80% of the time. With 20% of the time, you can, what we say, go off the wagon, right? Food companies are not your friend. These stories about healthy, happy cows and healthy, happy dairy products are designed to trick us into thinking it's actually good for us. So remember that. And please eat slowly. Eating slowly is super, super, super important. Chewing as often as you can. And don't do it all the time. Just do it from when you have time to practice. So here's a snack that you can have during the day. Hummus. This is a brand from Fry's, Private Selection. It's made with roasted chickpeas, just very available now. Here's some mini carrots. This is a snack that I'll eat before I will resort to eating something else. I'm going to eat that. And that's about all we have time for today. So thanks for being here. I'm just so happy to be with you. Once again, remember, I'm here for you and would love to give you more help, support, feedback on what you're doing right, and help strengthen your muscle. I'll be sending out the replay instructions shortly following this broadcast, and I'll also be sending you an invitation for the next class. I hope to see you there. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.